Are we making any progress up here? I guess well, we are moving. Somehow. We got a lane open or? Yeah, the left lane's open. You got a big truck. It looks like it hit another truck. It's all fucked up.
Hey everybody, TacBishop here. I wanted to talk real briefly today on CB radios, but I can't. They're really complicated. I spent a lot of money trying to get my stuff together and mine like I wanted it. And I'm going to try to explain to you what I did to save you a lot of money and trial and error that I know I threw away $1,000 or more and before I finally got my radio like I wanted. Number one, the first thing I did, very first radio I bought with a friend of mine. He bought one, Cobra 25, good radio, but it's not super tuned. We went and bought a piece of coax, maybe 9 foot, because that's all we needed, and a fiberglass antenna mounted to the mirror mount. And we took off down the road, and we couldn't talk to each other more than 200 yards, I'd say, at the most we could talk. We could see each other, sometimes we couldn't talk. So we carried them back, and the guy at the CB shop, he was the owner of the CB shop, and he just sold CB radios and things. He had another guy that came in on Thursday that did all his repair work, so we couldn't never really get any good conversation. So we went on and we traded them back in. We bought radios, we bought different type of antennas, and there's a combination to all this stuff that makes it work perfectly. Now the first thing, when you buy a radio, you can go and buy I got some notes here so I won't double talk myself. You can buy the Connex or the Galaxies. They're actually 10-meter radios, but they have the CB band, plus they have a lot of watts, a lot of capability of wattage output. The legal limit, last I heard, was 4 watts. Some of these Galaxies and things, they can go up to 900 to 1,000 watts if you tune them up to that. But what we did, and what I finally did, and my friend eventually wound up with that radio, I went into a truck stop, I think it was a TA in Baltimore. There was a motel right there with it. And a guy was in the parking lot, one of the truck drivers trying to sell a Cobra 25. And I kind of wanted to back up, and it was so cheap. I said, okay, I'll take it. I said, are you sure it works and all this? And he's like, well, it's brand new, but we can carry it to the radio repairman inside the motel. I didn't know there was one in there, but at room 101, he had taken all the beds out of the motel room. All he had was a table in there, some workspace, and his equipment. And that's all. He just rented that motel room all the time just to work on radios for the truck drivers. So we go in, he checks it out, he said, yeah, it works, but it's not super tuned. And that's the first time I'd ever heard super tuned. I heard you could turn them up a little and maybe get 8 or 9 watts out of it. He said, oh, he wasn't talking about that. He wanted to put a Connex board in it, like comes in the Connex radio. He started explaining what it was, but I don't really know all the technical stuff, but I know it's better than the Cobra board, and it's not that much money. So I told him he put that in. Then he said I needed a power mic because the mic was no good. They work, but they don't work good. So he had a power mic there, and I'm not sure, I can't remember what the name of it was now, but I got the power mic from him so he could tune the mic to the radio. Then he wanted to put Talkback in the radio. He said that was so when you get your mic tuned into your radio, when you talk, the Talkback allows you to hear what you're saying, so you know if you're too close, too far away, or if you have your volume on your mic turned up too much. So that's beautiful. I got that. I think all in all I spent like $125 with him getting him to super tune it. And it wasn't a scam. I know some people say, oh, they're scamming you out of money, but it wasn't. I'd do it again and again and again and again. This is the most happiest I've ever been with a radio. But he also told me that you had to have 18 feet of coax to set the SWRs. So I hope I'm not losing people that don't know anything about radios, but if you look right here, I'm going to put a video up of a guy. He bought a Wilson 2000, which is the best radio you can, or best antenna you can buy. Wilson Trucker 2000. They're $59. I've had several of them, and I've had friends get them. We've never had any trouble with them. And this guy's trying to set his SWRs. He is using a SWR meter on the radio. That's actually built into the radio. That's not going to be as good as a real SWR meter like this one. This one's a pretty good one. This one has the watts, the modulation, and the SWR meter all in the same one. I looked a while ago, you can get an SWR and a watt meter for $59. If that seems a little high for you, you can make a little money on the side setting people's SWRs for them if you feel like messing with it. But I suggest getting this. If you really want to be able to talk, it's pretty cheap. So right now we're at $125, I think, for the radio. That's parts and everything, labor, paying the guy. Then the mic, I think it was $35. Now this is years ago. It's going to be a little higher maybe. But like I said, I've spent thousands of dollars trying to get one to talk like I wanted, and still couldn't talk until this day. But getting back to the Wilson 2000 is $59. That's the Wilson Trucker CB radio antenna. $59. It'll carry 3,500 watts when you buy an amplifier, if you so desire. You have to have 18 feet of coax, and it has to be the gray kind. It's a little heavier duty, and it'll actually carry the wattage if you ever decide to put any heavier watts to it. And a lot of people say, well, I don't care anything about that, but if you start CBing, and you'll get to enjoy it, and you'll probably put it in there. Now, when you super tune the radio, he asked me, he said, are you going to run an amplifier? And I said, maybe, I don't know. So he put on the low side, he switched it down to 2 watts was all the output. And the high side, I think it went up to 40 or 50 watts, which is real good for just a standard Cobra 25. That was as high as it would go. But, and you buy these amplifier units, I had one time was 1,000 watts, and it's not designed to take a lot of watts on the input, so you have to turn it down. If you're going to run 40 watts, you can run 40 watts. But sometimes if you're sitting in a parking lot talking to somebody maybe right next to you, you want to turn it down on 2 watts so you won't blow him out over there. And you want it on 2 watts when you talk into a amplifier. There was a Texas Star 1000, and man, it would talk 35 miles. People couldn't talk back because they didn't have the same thing, but they could hear me. Okay, talked about the power mic. Okay, the coil. When you get your 18 foot of coax, don't coil it up like this. Just take this coax, this is a drop cord, but just take the coax, and there's going to be a lot of cable in there. You're going to be tempted to buy the 6 or the 8, and the guy in the video I was showing you a while ago, he's probably trying to set up his SWRs with a short cable. That's why he never got it set. But you just take this cable, when it comes out of your radio, you just guide it around and tuck it behind everything you can find. Run it all the way back into your sleeper, up in the top, wherever you need to put it, come out, and then go out into your antenna. And a lot of guys will take it and coil it up like this, and that does something. If you coil it like this, that does something to the some kind of interference. I don't know what it does, but it won't work right. So don't do that. And I think I'm going to say it again with the SWRs. When you're setting your SWRs, don't use the meter, use the one by one, and you want it down to 0 if you can get it. With the Wilson 2000, I've always been able to set them where they wouldn't even move. I might take it right out of the box, and it might would peg a 0.5. And by the way, we checked the ones on the trucks, the first ones we bought, it would peg the needle all the way over. You check the SWRs, you just stick it over there. But these, last one I bought, you just bump it, that needle would just barely move, barely move. And I kept sliding that antenna up and down in that little hole, and it finally got it where it wouldn't even move, and it would talk really good. And when you do set your SWR, make sure each time you adjust your antenna, you close the door. I've seen people do it with the door open, and that affects it a little bit too if you have the door open, because it's going to be closed when you're talking on it going down the road. And you don't have to lean them forward. I don't know if you've seen guys with their CBs antennas to have them, both of them will be leaned or want to be leaned forward, so I guess when they get this high speed, it'll be standing up right, but you don't have to do that with these Wilson 2000. You want it straight up in the air. The SWR meter, I don't know if I said before, is $59. I think I covered everything. I hope it wasn't too confusing, but if you'll use this as a guide, you can get a good radio for maybe $200, and you'll be happy with it. You will be thrilled to death with this radio. You don't have to go and buy one of those expensive Galaxies or Connexes. Just getting your mic right and get it super tuned, Talkback, 18-foot coax, and the Wilson 2000. You don't need there's a Wilson 5000. It's supposed to be the best of the best, but the only difference in the 2000 and the 5000 is the 5000 will carry 5,000 watts, and the 2000 will only carry 3,500 watts. So 5,000 watts is a lot for a truck. And I wouldn't suggest much in a truck. Well, I wouldn't carry more than 1,000 in a truck, because it does have a tendency to mess with some of the gauges. I think that's it. If this video is helpful to you, just give me a thumbs up and a like and share and whatever else, and I'll catch you next time. TacBishop, and I'm out.
SUV just gets stuck down there in the middle, trying to make a U-turn down. That's the fucking mouth. And now he's waiting back for it out. Well, oh shit, I've seen somebody get down there walking around down there. I wonder if I should do my last move, just in case when he rolls hits me, I don't know about that. Coming down the right shoulder. There's a left at the top of the left.